Good evening from Swansea wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. Your one-stop shop for professional wrestling, insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. And it's Sunday. You know what that means. It means it's time for us to review last night's episode of AEW Collision. And once again, Saturday night was certainly all right for wrestling, but it was certainly not all right for storytelling. Well, at least with some stories. We're going to get into all of that and more, but firstly, let me introduce the co-host for the show, the man who last night not only watched Collision, but also watched the UFC, and it was a good card, wasn't it? And my boy Leon Edwards got that victory over that liar, Kobe Covington. But Clark, what were your thoughts on UFC last night, I guess, as well as how are you?
Super fired up to be here. Last night was a blast. First and foremost, Collision was fun. Great night for combat sports. But UFC last night, if you take away the results aspect of my predictions from yesterday's show, I went 5 for 5 on the main card. Across the board, clean sweep on winners. I tried to call the results as well. I did not call every single result, but boy, did I get that Josh Emmett result right. We'll get into that maybe. I don't know. We're definitely going to get into Collision, though, and I actually enjoyed this episode of Collision. I'm a huge, huge Thunder Rosa fan, so I was excited to see her back. I know we're going to get into that eventually, though, but Ben, I'm just stoked to be here always on a Sunday, formerly known as Sunday Fun Day.
It certainly did used to be known as Sunday Fun Day. Nowadays, Sundays are no longer fun, and it's all AEW's fault. No, I'm only joking. It really was a super fun episode of AEW. I was talking about the show earlier on with some friends, and I said that this show literally resembled exactly why I love AEW, but also my issues with it as well. And we're going to get into all of that and more, of course, on today's show. I'm excited for it. But we've also got somebody joining us today, a last-minute substitution, one might say. He is the Impact substitute, Kobe Galanzowski. Kobe, how are you today?
I thought on the invite ticket it read this was a Sunday Fun Day. Oh, it's Collision. I guess I better leave now. Anyway, yeah, AEW Collision winter is coming, enjoyable. Of course, I said this when I initially made the post about the Continental Classic, and I'm like, I'm expecting a lot of just high quality, good wrestling matches, and of course, that's what we got last night. But I'm here to talk about it. I'm here to share concerns, criticisms, all the whole shebang, if you want to call it that.
Yes.
Let's enjoy it. I did not like the UFC main event. I was having better fights on UFC Online during it. But, of course,
the right guy won, though.
The result was expected after it went the distance.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the result was expected going in if people listen to me, but of course, some people don't listen to me. Why don't they listen to me? I don't know, because I'm always right and everybody else is always wrong. That's how these things work. It's very simple.
It was a heck of a fight, though. Honestly, I mean, look, Leon was on him early. He showed his sublime striking. When he landed that head kick in the second round, I thought, okay, he's going to put his lights out. Kobe did come back strong, but at the end of the day, Leon, I had 4-1 on my cards personally, and I thought it was an outstanding fight as far as tactically from Leon's standpoint, because he was able to get out of every double leg attempt. He was able to reverse him against the cage, flip it around. His clinch work has improved greatly, and then his range is a scary. I don't know very many guys on this planet that want to fight Leon Edwards right now.
That is true. That is true indeed. But the Instagram's starting to get a bit annoyed at us for talking UFC. So let's just jump right into
All good.
AEW and AEW Collision, because last night I got a little bit frustrated, didn't I? Because we're going to jump right into the Thunder Rosa return, and I'm a big Thunder Rosa guy. I want to just put that out there straight away. I'm just so thrilled that she is finally back on AEW TV. But the way it happened, it was awful. It just straight up was awful, right? They had an Abaddon squash match against Jasmine Allure, and I thought when I first saw this, okay, they're building Abaddon in a month which isn't October. Great, fantastic. Character development, whatever, cool. I'm happy. I'm happy to see Abaddon on my TV screen. And Abaddon got a quick win. I thought, okay, good, they're starting to build her. Let's hope this goes somewhere. Oh, then out comes Julia Hart. And next I thought, well, I know where this is going. Next week it's going to be Julia Hart versus Abaddon. Abaddon's going to lose, and we're not going to see Abaddon on TV for the next 6 months again, because that's how the booking works in this division. But nope, I was wrong again, and I'll give them at least some credit for that. It wasn't predictable, because Sky Blue then came out, and I thought, oh, okay, triple threat, maybe a tag team match. What's going on here? And then after them telling the story for like 2 months that Sky Blue was not going to join Julia Hart. She has a new darker version of herself, but she wasn't going to join Julia Hart. Well, guess what they've done? They put her with Julia Hart out of nowhere. They completely ignored all that storytelling, all that great storytelling they did with Sky Blue that I praised on this show. And now Sky Blue suddenly a heel and aligned herself with Julia Hart. Well, at least that should be a big moment, shouldn't it? Nope, it was completely overshadowed by Thunder Rosa returning in what was just the most anticlimactic return I've seen in a long, long time. Thunder Rosa came out from the crowd. A lot of people didn't know who she was as she didn't have the face paint on, and it was just all a mess. Once they found out who she was, they were cheering for her and all of that. But this entire segment, whoever produced it, they need to go back to school. I honestly think my brother, who's not even a wrestling fan, could have produced a better segment. This was just completely and utterly embarrassing. It infuriated me as a big Thunder Rosa fan, and a fan of actually all these 4 women involved. That's the most annoying thing here. I love all 4 of these women, but this segment started off good, and it just got progressively worse, and it was just infuriating. I did a tweet about it on Twitter. Some people got annoyed at it, whatever, but this women's division deserves better. I have said it over and over again, the AEW women's division has so much potential. There are so many great wrestlers in that division. It is not their fault, it is the fault of the incompetent bookers who are booking this division. I know I've gone on an absolute rant there, but that's honestly my thoughts on it. And every week I come on this show, I talk about this division, and I get more and more frustrated, and that's just the way it's going. People are agreeing with me on Instagram at least. But what about you, Clark? Do you agree with me on this one?
I've got to say I agree in some respects. I disagree in others. I was stoked to see Thunder Rosa back. I mean, we've needed it for a long time. I thought it was interesting that she did return without the face paint. And I don't know if there was, that was initially the idea for her return, but it's always good to have Thunder Rosa back. I'm not going to complain about that because Thunder Rosa, in my eyes, has been one of the biggest breakout stars of the AEW Women's division that isn't a crossover from former WWE talent, right? As far as the Julia Hart and Sky Blue stuff is concerned, that's where it's frustrating because if they'd pulled the trigger on it early, I love the partnership. I don't mind Sky Blue in the least being a part of House of Black, but Sky Blue also kind of had the end of the babyface run to kind of figure out. Then she gets the mist from Julia, and we're in a muddy situation already there. And I don't really know where you were going to go with Sky Blue as like, I'm dark now because of the mist, but I'm not on the same team. I don't necessarily dislike it as much as you do, but I'm also, that's pending the follow-up. That's the biggest thing for me is if the follow-up's good and it's explained and it make sense, now we're good. But if it's not, and we just kind of act like nothing else happened, and then it's a what are we doing here situation, and that's my only issue. As far as that's concerned, either way, I mean, I hope it's a fun tag match. I think is my biggest thing. I would say, just trying to be positive, but I didn't hate the segment as much as you did in regards to the Thunder Rosa part, because she is one of those characters that is a complete fighter, and so to jump the rail and just get involved, it is very Thunder Rosa like. I do
That's a
agree,
good
though.
point. Good point.
I do agree, however, that it overshadowed the move by Sky Blue to align herself with Julia Hart. I agree with that.
Which
That's
felt
true.
random in itself. But here's the thing, Clark, right? Me and you argue about this women's division, well, the booking of this women's division, each and every week on the show. And I know often, you're trying to play devil's advocate in a way. But still, I am noticing something over these last few conversations we've had now. You're slowly having less points to bring up about it.
Yeah.
In terms of
last couple weeks.
And it's coming down to it now where you're kind of like, I think they need to bring somebody in to book this women's division. I really, really do, because as of right now, I'm presuming it's the same people booking the women's division who are booking everything else. And they're
Can we get
not
Fit Finley or something like that? That's a great call.
They're not putting enough time into the women's division at all. I mean, listen, if Punk was there, I would have said AJ Lee. She's a fantastic female writer. Yes, she's not done too much in wrestling outside of WoW, but I would have loved to have seen her come in and book the women's division. Right. I said that a year ago. Obviously, now that's off the cards, or is it? If it were to happen, that would be a shocker. That I think would just send the internet wrestling community into a frenzy. Chaos agrees on Instagram, saying waste of a return for Thunder Rosa, and so does _big_cigar on Instagram as well. But we got a comment here from Bobby Petito, who was just happy to see Jasmine Allure on AEW Dynamite. I agree, actually, Bobby. I really, really do. Like I said, the original squash match. And it's a slight exaggeration calling it that too, because the Law got a little bit of offense in. I thought that worked well. I thought it got Abaddon over, and then they just threw it all away. And it's infuriating to me. Kobe, am I being too harsh on this or what?
So the one thing that I can instantly recall and think about is, because they're busted open with Bully Ray said, if he had the book for the Survivor Series thing, he said Randy Orton would have turned heel and Punk would have returned. And we saw the wrestling world, how they reacted. Punk's return was overshadowing Randy's return. This is a similar situation, but I feel like the return was done better. Thunder Rosa, who does the Spanish commentary, shouldn't be getting an entrance or shouldn't have her face paint. She's coming from a non-wrestling role and doing a run-in. I actually like the fact that they went through the crowd, that they didn't do, Thunder Rosa and then she runs down the ramp. That's one of the things that we see in wrestling now. It's like the theme hits, then the rundown, or the Jeff Hardy meme where he debuted for AEW and he's doing his dance. It's like, well, no, you got to do the run-in. This one, they did the run-in effectively. Does it overshadow the heel turn? Yes, it does. But to me, this is what needs to come with next week's Collision or next week's Rampage, wherever they decide to do these. We have to see two things. We have to see something with Julia Hart and something with Sky Blue, saying whatever. If Sky Blue says maybe the loss at Full Gear, maybe the loss to Toni Storm had her self-reflect more. That's what you need to tell us. And then the other one is, of course, why is Thunder Rosa returning to help Abaddon? I don't know why. Thunder Rosa is probably the only one that knows why in this case. That's what you have to tell us. Obviously, you have the tag match. I don't know if we're going to just set up an Abaddon Sky Blue or not Sky Blue, Abaddon versus Julia, or some form of combination for Winter is coming. I do think
it's a tag match between the two teams next week.
for Collision, but Winter's coming. World's End
Oh,
will
sorry.
probably have
Yeah.
World's End will probably have some sort of TBS championship match, whether it's a 4-way, a 1-on-1. I mean, I don't want Rosa to just be rushed into it. I would say do Rosa sometime in January. Do Abaddon, the one the one you've kind of been building for the last 2-3 weeks, and teased this whole Julia Hart and Abaddon feud. To me, I mean, that's the thing. I agree with the criticism, and I agree. I think the return was better than what it could have been, because they could have did the whole rushed. Oh, she gets her theme, she runs down, then it looks staged type of thing. This looked more out of the blue of Thunder Rosa finally just having enough with some of the antics that do take place on Collision. In this case, it was this.
No, I mean honestly, Kobe, you did make a good point there. To be fair, about her coming, running out, and Clark's made it as well about fitting with her character. Maybe I was a bit too harsh on that, but yeah, the overshadowing things where I had the real issue here. The way that was done, I thought was just ludicrous.
I mean that was my first idea when I saw it. Anyway, that was what I first said in the Wrestling Republic group chat. I'm like, that overshadows this, doesn't it? Which it's a true criticism.
Bobby Petito saying that they should have had Maria Kanellis book in AEW Women's Division. I mean, maybe. I mean, we don't. She hasn't had much experience, so we don't know. But give her a try. It's got to be better than whatever they're doing. I am certain about that one. But it's the second time lately they've overshadowed turns. You had, of course, Nick Wayne doing that brilliant face turn at Wrestle Dream and being overshadowed by that heel Adam Copeland's return. I mean, not return, debut. That was absolutely embarrassing.
Serena Deeb may not be a bad name either for that call. Serena Deeb, given her experience, could actually, I think, help out a lot there.
And someone in the chat saying, no, it was a heel turn. Nope. Nick Wayne turned face. If you thought he turned heel, you don't understand life. But now let's move on. And let's move on to talk about Claudio Castagnoli versus Andrade El Idolo. Because this match actually opened the show. And of course, the Continental Classic, it's continuing at the minute. It's getting, towards the end now. And things, especially in the Blue League, which, the booking in the Blue League I will really praise, is now heating up. It's really interesting. Every single match on this card mattered. On Dynamite this upcoming week, 2 of the matches don't even matter, will really matter. But Claudio versus Andrade kicked things off, and this was just a super fun match. And the crowd wasn't super into it at the start, which I did find surprising, but as it went on, they became more and more into it. The one thing I didn't like was, I think it was at one point Andrade took the turnbuckle protector of the steel bit at the top off, and Claudio had his hand on it then, and the commentators were trying to tell us that Claudio wouldn't know that was off. It was clearly he could feel now steel instead of padding on his hand. That was just a bit stupid. The one thing which I absolutely loved was the sharpshooter into the figure 4 reversal. That was just, I could talk about that all day. That was absolutely beautiful. And towards the end, it became more and more stiff. And Claudio used a low blow to win. A heel Claudio Castagnoli. I know he's kind of been a bit of a heel in that feud with Eddie. He was the heel, but he's kind of playing more into that character at the minute. And hey, he was respectful in this tournament so far, and it hadn't worked out for him. So maybe that was indeed warranted. But this match I enjoyed. Clark, what were your thoughts on it?
I loved this, and I love Claudio. I think Claudio is immensely underrated and underutilized in almost every company he goes to. And I'm not even trying to knock AEW because they've done a decent job with Claudio. But man, I loved that match last night. That Gotch style pile driver, delightful. I mean, Claudio can do anything in the ring. Andrade is great every single time out. Like you said, the sharpshooter into the figure 4, nothing short of delightful. I loved the entire thing top to bottom. And I mean, comeback Claudio, as soon as he gets a little bit nasty, is one of my favorite parts about this. Claudio gets a little bit extra edge to him coming off the Kingston match, and then shows it in the ring as he delivers that, low blow, as we like to say. And it's awesome. And like you said, the booking on the Blue League is brilliant right now. I'm really excited about it. I still think the Gold League has been well booked, and I'm actually glad that they aren't running parallel where it's exciting in both. Not exciting in both, I'm sorry, where it's, anybody can qualify from both. I actually enjoy the fact that we have one where it's pretty clear that the top 3 guys are the only ones that are really going to come out of that league. And then in the Blue League, it's a little bit more wide open. I don't think that's bad necessarily. I do understand where you're coming from on the meaningless matches as far as next week's Dynamite. That makes a lot of sense to me. But generally speaking, man, give me Claudio and Andrade on about any Saturday or Wednesday night, and I'll be entertained.
Yeah, no, I mean that is true as well. They are doing, and people are saying this on the Instagram comments. These matches, this Continental Classic has provided us with a lot of great matches. And I also do agree with you, Clark. Whereas if it was open in both, maybe it would be a bit obvious. But you kind of got to make it... I don't know. I just feel like still the Gold League has kind of just been a bit too predictable from the start. I really do. Whereas the Blue League, mostly on Collision, has just been, there's been a few shocks in there. A couple of weeks ago, it started to become clear that Eddie Kingston was going to go on a comeback run. But it was still open, and we still don't know who the other guy, is necessarily going to be. Because, of course, there was a lot of, shock. Andrade lost. Andrade lost last night, and he was top. So now going into next week, it could be any.
The only thing I will say in defense of the Gold League is I think it's a testament to the 3 stars at the top of the Gold League that are the ones that are in contention as much as it is the booking. And I want to give credit there, right? We're talking about Jon Moxley. We're talking about Switchblade Jay White, and more importantly, arguably, Swerve Strickland is. Swerve is still in it, right? Essentially, you have those 3 names that are still in it.
Well, he can't. So even if he were to win the next match, Jon Moxley would have to lose for it to be a tie, but Moxley beat him. So that's where I was coming in.
But I don't think they have a tiebreaker.
I think they can if they need to.
They won't do it. There's no time in the schedule.
Wow, we don't know. The one thing I know, the one thing that I would say, the one thing I would say is, what if Jay White beats Jon Moxley?
Yeah.
Then Jay White wins. Yeah. Then that throws the entire monkey wrench of the top 2 favorites were Swerve and Mox, and now Jay White sneaks in. I almost think that's the move.
I agree. Actually, I think that's a great call.
It'd be Jay White versus Swerve in that case. So that's
Swerve would lose. The only match. The top two. No. What do you mean it's the top 2?
The top 2 go forward.
Forward to what? Isn't it the winner of the Blue League? Is there a semifinals? Did they confirm that?
Yeah.
Well, then Swerve would be dropped out because he lost to Moxley, and if Jay White beats Moxley,
there you go.
The top two would be Jay White and Mox.
Swerve has to win, and Moxley has to win too, I guess. Yeah. So for it to happen, so that's right.
So there are multiple scenarios on the gold side. That's my point. And you have the 3 biggest names in that bracket. I get that the bottom of the bracket was
Danielson. Come on,
Danielson. I thought, is he in the gold?
No, he's in the other one. But I mean, Danielson is.
No, I said the 3 biggest names on the gold side.
Okay. Fair enough.
The 3 biggest names on the gold side clearly stood out from the beginning of the tournament, and now it comes down to a lot of logistics. Some people need help too. Even like someone's got to win, someone's got to lose. That's not bad.
It is true. It is. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh here.
Yeah.
And I mean, listen. The fact of the matter is, we went into this tournament. In fact, I was very excited for it. In the first couple of weeks, I had some criticisms. They ironed out those criticisms, actually, though, right?
Right.
And certain things, such as Danielson's eye being a story throughout, really helped it. The Eddie Kingston stuff really helped it. I have just said 2 stories again in the Blue League, but that's a side note anyway.
He's a Blue League guy.
I'm a Blue League guy, and so is Bobby Petito. And I'm a Bobby Petito guy too. So there we are, right? Me and Bobby will be watching the Blue League. You guys can watch the Gold League. But no, it is exciting, and this is certainly something they should do every year, because it's given all 12 of these guys something to do, and that's something good. Next year, I would like to see maybe a slightly stronger bracket, but I've really enjoyed it. I have done. And we'll get a bit more into it later on. But right now, I want to get into the FTR promo because both members of FTR last night, they came in to cut their promo. They were both banged up a little. Actually, before we get into the FTR promo, let's talk about Brian Keith versus Orange Cassidy. As I realized
Yeah.
I overlooked my notes, guys, unfortunately. But but Brian Keith versus Orange Cassidy. I'm gonna be honest. It was my first time properly seeing Brian Keith, and I heard a lot of good things about him from Ring of Honor. And he came in, and it was great. It really was. He looked fantastic in defeat to Orange Cassidy. Of course, Orange Cassidy just puts on, great mid-card bangers whenever he's there and puts, people over in loss. And I felt like that's what he did here. He, brought Brian Keith to a bigger audience. Brian Keith, I think, got over with that audience very, very well. The crowd loved him. One issue, though. I love this all, and then there was this one issue, and that's that Brian Keith did this Undertaker sit-up. And I've heard that Brian Keith does this a lot, and I don't know why. It doesn't fit with his character at all. It makes him look like an Undertaker fanboy when he's clearly so much better than that. It's not like he's some dark character where it would make sense. If Abaddon did it, I'd have less of an issue. Brian Keith, why are you doing it? Like, I don't know. I didn't like this Undertaker setup at all. It frustrated me a lot. Kobe, am I being too harsh?
So this is where a lack of knowledge is Brian Keith's gimmick is he's the bounty hunter. So he has that sort of kind of dark aura or kind of, I don't want to say the evil cowboy type thing, but he has a bit of that aura already there. Yes, this was done correctly because they debuted him in his territory because he mainly wrestles in Texas. I think this was a really good match as well. That's what I've learned to expect from OC for the last 8 months is if he had that title, he's giving not entertaining bangers, but entertaining wrestling, entertaining matches. It did make Brian Keith look good. If there's one guy to say AEW is going to sign this guy, I think it's going to be Brian Keith because he's doing well he did well for Ring of Honor. He did well tonight. He's done well already because he had matches with Hangman Page and earlier this year. He's also doing matches for PWG with Mike Bailey, all that. He's genuinely, I don't want to say he's the breakout star, but he's one of those indie names that if you're going to pick up a really good wrestler, it's probably going to be Brian Keith. I think this was very effective. That's like I said, that's what you expect from OC. It was enjoyable. Brian Keith, I like the fact that Brian Keith keeping his character, the bounty hunter, or that's his nickname. He does the tip of the hat for respect between the two of them. I like it. I'm interested to see if they actually do sign Brian Keith. I'd be interested in it, but obviously then that continues to go to the underlying bloated roster that we can see with AEW. Would he get the time? Would he get prompt? Would he be a Ring of Honor mainstay? We don't know any of those logistics, but I do think the world of that man. Like I've seen really good matches with him.
No, I mean, you are right. It is, I guess, part of his thing still. I don't know why a bounty hunter can suddenly survive anything and, sit up out of nowhere, especially on a sports-like product, but whatever. Well, we'll get into that debate on another day. I'm absolutely sure of it. Now let's talk about FTR. I was so eager to talk about them. I almost got onto it a minute ago, but of course, both members of FTR last night were banged up from their, fantastic match at Ring of Honor Final Battle the other day, and they came out and they cut a promo on House of Black, specifically Malachi Black and Buddy Matthews, saying that they're jealous of the success that Brody King and Julia Hart are having right now. It was a great promo from FTR. That's not surprising, but then the lights dimmed, they went out, and Malachi Black and Buddy Matthews appeared on screen, and this was phenomenal. They asked FTR to join the House of Black before them burning a photo of Dax Harwood's family. This promo was just really, really dark. It really helped, move forward this feud. I thought it did its job outstandingly. These types of promos, I love it when AEW do it. I feel like they don't do it enough. I know they want to focus on the in-ring action more. I'm not saying do as many as WWE do. I'm not saying that whatsoever. But when they do promos like this and they do it well, like the FTR and House of Black did last night, It is near perfect. What are your thoughts on it, Clark?
I mean, this was so delightful. FTR, it's even funnier the way they ran down like their own limitations. Like at one point, basically in the promo, like the it's FTR. It's 7-star FTR. They're so good, and this is such a fun segment. I want the tag match, and I want it ASAP. The burning the family picture thing was wild. The whole thing was wild. I really, 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 really want to see a Shatter Machine on Malachi badly, or a big rig nowadays, as we're calling it. But yeah, no, I loved everything about the promo, the entire segment, the whole thing. It's FTR and the House of Black. It's two huge names. It's two fun ones. It was well done. It was well produced. And I'm just excited to see him get in the ring and wrestle. Actually, to be honest, it's one of those times that AEW got something really, 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 really right. This felt absolutely as it should have been booked.
No, absolutely. I do agree with you. It was outstanding. Maybe the highlight of the show for me, even with the couple of great matches that we had on this show. But now let's talk. Actually, I need to correct myself very, very quickly first because Bobby Petito is correcting me. Bobby Petito is correcting me in the comments saying that Brian Keith did have a match in AEW before. It was on AEW Rampage and in a tag match as well. My bad, Bobby. Honestly, I don't always watch Rampage. There's just so much wrestling in the week sometimes for me. But we're all good now. We're back. We're back on track, and now let's talk about the women's division. Let's talk about Chris Statlander and Willow taking on Diamante and Mercedes Martinez, because of course last week this feud properly started in a tag team fashion. Of course, Martinez and Willow have been going at it for months now, but in a tag team way, it properly started last week, and they just decided, hang on a second, a tag match? What's that? That's not good enough. Let's jump ahead to a street fight. Why? Don't know why. We'll never know why. But for some reason, every AEW street fight is also a cosplay event because both tag teams here cosplayed. I'm only joking, by the way. I found it quite funny. I don't have an issue with that. I am only joking. But they continued the story they built last week. It was fine. The match itself was a really, really fun and enjoyable match. Chris Statlander, I've said it before, I'll say it again. When she shows a bit of a darker side to herself, right? A bit more of a violent, brutal side to herself, she is so good because she has those facial expressions for it. She is just outstanding at it. There was a lot to like in this, but I would have liked to see a bit more story told between these two teams before we got to a street fight stipulation. But the match itself, I did enjoy. Kobe, what were your thoughts on it?
I mean, over here I have a sticky note, and this is where the tag team idea was. Like, this was a feud that they were building from August and September, and it's like all of a sudden they pulled it. Like, oh yeah, we didn't finish this. Let's do it now. The one criticism I have, and while the street fights are effective in the entire show or in the yearly thing, where my criticisms lie is with this becoming a bit of a tradition. Tony Khan loves his traditions. We know that. He loves doing shows in different places. He has Labor Day weekend for All Out, all that. I can name 1,000 of them already. Right now, this is not this isn't to the effect of, oh, we need a War Games match. This is, oh, we have two women's teams, and let's do a women's street fight. Because they did it with TJ versus Penelope and Allie. They did it with TJ and Ruby Soho and Willow last year. They did it again here with Diamante and Mercedes Martinez versus Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander. They did it here. It's an enjoyable match. I'm not gonna say anything bad about that. My other criticism with this is the fact that the faces have won 3 years in a row. TJ won when they were faces. TJ lost when they were heels to Ruby and Willow and Chris win again. I don't know if I like that because it should always be used as a story element, not just oh, the faces are going to win the Christmas street fight. Not even though it's not a Christmas street fight in this sense, but it was good. I don't know. It was enjoyable street fight as the rest of them were for the last few years. But those are my two kind of criticisms that are outside of the match itself.
No, I do agree with you, Kobe. A lot of great points there. We got Melissa saying, hey, Melissa,
Hey,
welcome to the
Melissa.
chat. And Melissa also pointed out that we're live on Instagram now as well, so you guys can watch us on all these platforms. It's amazing. Modern technology, it goes over my head at times, and I'm meant to be young and with it all. Bobby Petito saying that he liked Mercedes Martinez and Diamante, and Willow Nightingale has potential to be a champion in All Elite Wrestling. I could not agree with you more, Bobby. All 4 women in this match, an absolute ton of potential. But listen, we've said throughout this show, the Continental Classic was the highlight of it, and the theme continued towards the end of the show because Eddie Kingston took on Daniel Garcia, and this match, well, a story was told. Again, a story in the Blue League, but still, a story was told, right? Daniel Garcia, of course, that dance thing he's been doing, Daddy Magic on commentary has not been liking those dances. He says that it's holding Garcia back. Well, Garcia said in this, hey, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to keep on dancing as much as I like. And that is what went down. Eddie Kingston, Daniel Garcia, the match was brutal. Neither man would quit. And yeah, it got to a point where both men were, fighting for a chance to survive in this tournament. Garcia kept dancing in between. Was it a bit cringe? Of course it was a bit cringe, but I still liked it, and Kingston got a hard-fought victory, meaning he has still got a chance. And as James Ellsworth said, any man with, 2 hands has a fighting chance, and that is certainly the case heading into the Continental Classic. But Kobe, what did you think about Eddie Kingston, Daniel Garcia?
To me, this is what we're expecting here. We have Eddie Kingston, of course, going through that. I don't want to say the late series comeback, but he's getting the late series comeback. He's getting the wins. He's getting the momentum. He's slowly building back up to being in contention to win his side of the Blue League. To me, this was an enjoyable match. This is what you're going to get from these two men. Garcia's a really good technical wrestler, and Eddie Kingston's more of the brawler, more of the striker. He does the chops, so do the spinning back fist. And they mesh well together. They are able to work together to not complete a good match, but they work to have a compelling and entertaining match throughout the entire show, or not throughout the show, but throughout last night's Collision.
No, absolutely. No, I do agree with you, Kobe. These two, Eddie Kingston, Daniel Garcia, they are great. They are great together, and this was absolutely great. Some people might have noticed I'm in a happy mood today. Melissa is one of those people.
Absolutely.
Melissa's correctly predicted why. It's because Arsenal won today and we're top of the league once again. But anyway, before the Instagram comments get mad at me, this isn't a football show. We're keeping it on wrestling. We're keeping it on wrestling. And like you said, Kobe, it was a great night for the Continental Classic. And that continued when in the main event, Bryan Danielson took on Brody King. And this match, well, this was high stakes, but in a different way that Kingston and Garcia was. Kingston and Garcia was a high stakes match as it was a battle for survival. This match was, a battle, quite the opposite, a battle for top of the group, and it absolutely did deliver because it was brutal. The crowd was hyped for it. They knew why to care for it. They knew that, these two guys, like near the top, and, it's getting towards the end of the tournament. That means they need to care. It means this match matters, and they were super, super into it. And I said at the start of this show that Saturday night is all right for fighting. Well, matches like these, well, that is why, I've missed wrestling being on a Saturday night. Bryan Danielson, Brody King, they both killed it. And in the end, Danielson got the win with a running knee to the back of the head. It was brutal. I loved it. Only complaint I have about it is Brody King kicked out at 3.5. And I thought Brody King looked strong enough in this match that wasn't really necessary. He took multiple knees. He took a lot of offense. I don't think he needed a kick out at 3.5. I think you could have done him, getting up 10 seconds later on his own and being fine. I think that would have done the same thing. I thought that was just a little bit overdone. But still, I'm hyped for next week now. The Blue League delivered. They told stories. They built it to the final week. And now what we all care, we'll draw it into it. And I am pumped for it. But Clark, what is your thoughts on Bryan Danielson, Brody King, and just the entire Continental Classic heading into that final week of action?
So I absolutely loved the match. There's no doubt. I loved the match. And Brody King has been a standout in this tournament. I agree on a lot of what you said and disagree on very few things that you said. But one thing I do disagree on is the kick out at 3.5. It reminded me of old school Mick Foley. I wish he'd have done it just as like a foot kick out, the way that Mick used to, as Mankind or as Cactus, or even as, I don't think he ever used it as Dude Love, but the old school, just you'd see the leg like trying to kick out at 3.5, but his shoulders wouldn't move. I do think Brody kind of overdid it, but it reminded me of that because Brody's also gigantic. He's what, 6'10", 7 feet tall. He's over 300 pounds. He's menacing as could be, and all of that. And for it to take that much to put him away, given the match, I think Brody King actually absolutely deserved to make it look like it was still that close, despite the entire onslaught from Danielson. And I think that's part of the story that Danielson wanted to tell in this match as well, I would add too, because it was clear after the third knee that he knew it was going to take a lot to put this dude away. And in my eyes, we're looking at a big man in AEW that is fully broken out in this tournament. Brody King, we've talked a lot about some of the negatives. We've talked a lot about storytelling. As far as both brackets are concerned, there's been a lot of positives, and one of them has been Brody King has absolutely showed how good he is. Brody King is a scary, legit big man that can really, really wrestle. And I think it's a testament to how good he's been in this tournament that Danielson had to hit that much offense to put him away. And it was still that razor thin.
I absolutely agree with you, Clark. I do, and I'm not the only one. Bobby Petito does as well, saying, he is great in the ring. I mean, we spoke about House of Black earlier, but this certainly has been a breakout tournament for, Brody King, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And a lot of, I guess, eyebrows were raised when he was announced for it. But he's proven those doubters wrong.
Delivered.
He has. He absolutely has done, and I'm really happy for him too. Because a lot of people who, watched him and Malachi Black, I forgot what Malachi Black used to go by, Tommy End. Tommy End and Brody King back in the day, those two together were gold. And obviously then Brody King, kind of went off to the mid-card in Ring of Honor, in, I forgot the name of the faction as well, but I think that says a lot. Whereas Malachi Black went
was it Lifeblood?
NXT.
I think it was Lifeblood.
I think he was in
Or no, that was Villain Enterprises.
Villain Enterprises.
Yes, that's it. Villain
With
Enterprises.
PCO, yeah.
Correct.
He was
with
in
PCO.
another one before that as well. He was just in a couple of factions, but you're right. Villain Enterprises was the main one, of course, and he was very much a tag team wrestler, and he was very much overshadowed. So I think him coming into his own in this tournament has shocked a lot of fans.
Absolutely.
But it's a good thing. It's a great thing. It's done. He's been the breakout star of this tournament. And I mean, as somebody to be such a veteran like he is, to have a breakout year this late, I mean, that is impressive in itself. Let me go on the Instagram comments really, really quickly. We've got Melissa Robinson switching over to there, and we've got a few. I mean, we got Celtic Sports Cards saying that AEW has been falling off lately. I mean, there was a lot of great stuff on this show. There was a lot of great stuff.
It was a good show.
It was. There was a few, obviously, that women's segment, which I won't even go on about anymore. I've said my part on it. I won't go into another rant. But the rest of the show was really, really good. There's a few issues, whatever, right? But it was overall a good show. but they just need to be put in that time that they put into some, I guess. Whoever's been booking the Blue League should be booking the Women's Division too. That's my only guess. Or maybe they shouldn't be. Maybe they've been focusing too much on the Blue League, and that's the issue with it. But who knows? I'm not here to speculate. Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy this show, please give us a thumbs up, a like, and subscribe on YouTube. Please give us a follow on Twitch. Please give us a cheeky 5 stars on Spotify. And of course, also on Instagram. If you're not following us, make sure you do. We love you guys. It's great to have you here. We're here every day. We'll be back here tomorrow for Mailbag Monday. Send in your questions via the Instagram story. Thank you to Clark. Thank you to Kobe for joining me here today. We will see you guys tomorrow. Peace and enjoy your Sunday, even